I'd love to see you.
Well, I definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I see everybody.
We did it. Thank God.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you sure nobody can watch this?
Yes, it's a private call. Are you recording?
I am recording, yeah.
Okay. Great, because all this is going in.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll put you over here so that it looks like I'm actually looking somewhere I should be looking. Perfect. Hi.
Okay, but now your cursor's on your never. I guess it's fine. I don't think it's going to be recorded that way, so.
No, I'm recording. It's fine.
Yeah.
It won't. It won't.
All right. Fantastic. Okay. Well, we are almost done with World Finals with coverage brought to you by Alienware. I'm joined by Sjoks after she was finally able to make time for me in her busy schedule. We've been trying to do this for weeks, and she says, oh no, another company wants to pay me money. Oh no, Travis, I just can't make it. And so here we are. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. It's a time zone thing. It's not anything. And also, yeah, the bigger the company, the worse they are at scheduling. Okay. Apparently.
Well, my company is small, so it's been great to hopefully we've been great at scheduling.
Yeah, you've been very like accommodating. Okay. Thank you, Travis Gafford Industries.
Yes, of course. We were just talking about this look that you have going on, which is very superhero inspired. Why are you looking at the mic? What's going on?
Oh, there is apparently if you turn it a certain way, it's just better for the sound.
Okay. Well, you want to have it in front of you, and right now you're talking past it.
Well, so that's kind of the issue. Because like you don't want it. Well, now it's actually so basically it's here. I think it's here.
Okay. Yeah, it should say front and back on that microphone.
Well, that's the top. No, I don't. It doesn't say front. Oh, it says back right
yes.
here.
Yes. So so you want to not be talking into that. The opposite of the back is the front. So that's the area.
The front to me?
Yes.
This is it. Anyway, this is fine. Never mind.
We were just discussing your outfit, which is very superhero inspired.
Yeah. So allegedly, it looks like Gwen Stacy. And it actually completely does, but it's not what I thought about. I just wanted I had this white turtleneck and I didn't kind of like it. And then I had this kind of dress that I also didn't like by itself. So I put it over each other and I guess it's quite in style. And
nice.
Then my hair is greasy because I haven't washed it. So I put it in a side ponytail. And ta-da! Style icon.
Style icon. Fantastic. I've moved you around so that you're right underneath my camera. So that whenever I'm looking at you, it doesn't look like I'm just looking off into the distance, which is like a huge problem on.
I've done the same thing.
These videos. Great. Fantastic. Well, now we can do an interview. What are we doing? What are you doing with me?
A lot of headspace. There we go.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm glad we figured it out. Actually, that is very important. We have to, because right now we're recording these separately, but at some point in time, we will be next to each other, and if we don't have equal headspace, it makes it look like you're way taller than me or I'm way taller than you or something.
Yeah, so I fixed it.
Yeah, I think we're good now. Okay, I just need I need to super sit up. Anyway, this is an interview. I don't know if people realize that.
People are used to that, I think.
I'm not sure if I realize it. How have you been?
I'm good. I mean, Worlds is trucking on. We have one more show to go, which is pretty crazy. It's been cool being able to go home and sleep in my own bed in between because, as you know, when the knockout starts, it's usually kind of the hardest or the most fun, depending on how you want to look at it, when you're in a different country and you get to do like some touristing and some going out. But now I just get to go home and sleep in my own bed. Also, there's pandemic, so I can't really go out anyway.
Yes. I hear it's getting bad again in Germany.
Yeah. So apparently, a new lockdown-ish is going to start on the 1st of November, which is good. I mean, it's not good, but I was really afraid personally that we wouldn't be able to go to the studio to do the shows.
Right.
As that's kind of what kept us sane. And we will be able to, but then the week after might just be confined to our own homes again.
Yeah, they timed it very clearly just so that you guys could finish out the show.
I wrote a letter, and that's just how it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear that you are doing well. I assumed that you were more of a bundle of stress and anxiety and nerves over these past couple of weeks, but
I was.
Okay, but you're good now.
Well, yeah, it's like the end is in sight, right? And I don't mean that in like a, "Oh my god, I wish it was
Get these
over."
get these world championships over.
No, okay, so there's no EU teams I can be biased against anymore in the
Yes,
tournament. So,
that's
like,
true.
this is just easy. Nah, just kidding.
You should
No,
talk
now
to
it's
them
just
because
like
maybe you could get them out at group stage, and then you wouldn't have to worry about being biased against them for the majority of the tournament.
uh, that
That's
wouldn't
what
be
we do.
no,
It
no,
works out really great.
no. Okay, that's why okay, I see. No, it's more that, like, the group stage into the knockouts is a lot. So, like, it's, um we got up at I think I got up at 5 a.m. for the group stage because we had to be there at 6:30, and then the show would start at 10:30, or 9:30 even. Yeah, 9:30 even. And then it was 6 games, so it would go leave the house at, like, 5:30 or whatever. Then the show would end around 4:30. We did get lucky a couple of days that the games were fast, so that was fine. And then there's an hour meeting after for the next day, and then the traffic in Berlin on show days is like LA level. Well, not as bad as LA, but, like, you
Still,
spend an
even with
hour
like the
getting home.
quarantine and all, or like because
Yeah,
LA's
it's
not been
pretty
nearly that
bad.
bad.
So you, like, touch down house at, like, I wanna say 6:30.
Hmm.
No, like 5:30, and then you gotta be in bed by 7 to get up at 5, or
Yeah.
let's say 8. But you're also prepping then after. So it's like a long stint, I think, especially for analyst desk hosts. So for me, I'm on every one of the shows, right? And all of them from start to finish, and all the meetings from start to finish, the whole day, all the time. So that's why I usually get pretty, burnt out. But I was fine getting up at 5 a.m. It was better than getting up, like, later as I usually do. Like, I wanna kind of do that, but
You're
that
failing your
doesn't
gamer check right now by saying you want to get up at 5
Yeah.
a.m. The correct answer is I like to get up at noon. That's actually my appropriate time to get up.
I mean, yeah, I thought so, but I was feeling like a spring chicken. I was so good. I just every day in the studio, I was bursting with energy and ideas, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I should have less energy, then I wouldn't have pitched a monologue.
Well, we can get into that in a second. But while we're still talking about your schedule, um, a lot of people don't realize that you don't just have like the riot stuff that you're doing during this time, but you have a lot of other obligations as well.
Yeah, I guess there's a freelancer life, but I do try and keep it just like when it's worlds, especially groups and especially knockouts. That is too crazy. Like you don't really have time even to do anything else. So I like to keep things
Really,
also that
because
are
when I
in the
kept trying
realm
to
of
schedule
group.
this interview, you kept telling me you had all these other responsibilities.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. I am recording a bunch of podcasts with Spotify about 10 years of the World Championship. Then I'm also working on the Esports Awards, which is after this, but they're deep into their planning phase. Then there's a couple of other things that are happening, as well as with MasterCard, who I also have a partnership with. And the good thing is that like the MasterCard and the Spotify things, they're all like connected to World. So it doesn't feel like you're going in a completely different headspace. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're doing it. But you know, it's freelancers. You know how it is. You gotta keep on going, Travis.
I do, but I don't have any podcasts with
I
Spotify.
actually saw that, like, I'm up for some kind of award, and apparently I won it, and, I was asleep, but apparently they needed an introductory video, and then our manager made you record it about me and, like, all how great I am. I really enjoyed that.
Did you watch the video?
Okay, like 20 seconds of it.
Okay, I want to be clear. I've got to go find this. Where could I
Is it
find this?
really sweet?
Oh my god. Yeah, it's very nice. Where Yoni sent it was a text message. Yoni sent me a text message and he said, I don't want to expose this award show or whatever, but I guess they were the people they were trying to get to introduce you fell through. And so I was told, I said, hey, favor for you. Efya is being honored tomorrow by the Tempest Awards for their equivalent of the Lifetime Achievement Award. They're asking for someone to do a 1 to 2 minute video introducing her. Would you want to handle it? If not, totally cool. I'll
Handle
handle, but
it.
I think it was better coming from you. And it was like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He says they need the video tonight, and so and so I'm like busy running around yesterday. Everything's hectic, and so at 11:30 at night, I sat down and like wrote and delivered this introduction video for you. And
What?
then
You should be up for an award. That's
and then
unreal.
hours later, I would be mocked and told that only 20 seconds of it was watched by the person who received the award.
I was in another meeting, so I just kind of clicked it, but my secretary has put it on my schedule to watch after this. Thank you,
I was,
Travis.
my hope, because you get so much heat during these events, these world events, is that we could do this interview and that you would seem approachable and nice and friendly, and people would be less likely to hunt you down. But you're one tweet away from saying that you've gathered all your closest friends to bring them to a private island where you can feel like life is normal.
It's like, I didn't think that that was so bad, that tweet by
Oh
Kim K.
no,
I mean,
you're not helping
um,
your case right now.
like, I just, because like, okay, I'm the kind of person who, and you might say this is different because you know me very well, but like, I don't have that crazy emotions unless it's something that I did wrong, or like that I am being hung out to dry for. So like, I'm not the kind of person to be like, if something comes out, it's like, oh my God, that's the most
Oh
horrible
yeah, you don't
adaptation
get
of
outraged at other
thing
people's
I've
stuff.
ever
Yes.
seen.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I never do. So I saw that and I was like, oh, good for her. And it was like, oh, a bit like, cool, you have all that money and you have a whole island you rented off, but whatever. And then I wake up and like everyone has tweeted a post,
Yeah.
has tweeted a meme like that. So I get it. It's very insensitive,
I mean, it's
actually,
weird. It's just
for
the only thing
sure.
that's weird to me about the outrage, and maybe like, oh god, I have to be careful now because I'm weighing in on this. But like, I thought that that was the whole brand of this individual is like, look how much money I have. Like Nate Shot's highest videos on his YouTube channel for a long time were like,
Golfing.
bought a G wagon, sold the G wagon, bought this other car, sold this other car. Like people, I
Yeah.
thought like to see that stuff, and so it's weird to me that this random thing was the one that like got people really upset. But
Well, I
anyway,
also have a theory that the longer we are in this pandemic situation, the more uh angry like people are just getting angrier and angrier, and I kind of get it, right? Because like, imagine you're in a situation now where this is your 10th month of this bullshit.
yeah,
It's like, I'd be mad too, but I like would probably find better ways, and I say that as someone who continuously gets upset by things she reads on the internet. Try and not get upset about those things
yeah.
necessarily, but I also get it because it's very insensitive. So,
Well, let's
when are
talk a
we going
little
to an
bit
island?
about when everyone got really angry with you. Uh, I mean, you and I have talked about this. Like, you were not you. It was a struggle for you, I think, whenever this happened. But just the obviously the reckless monologue,
Yeah.
and then people getting really angry at you about it. So, um, how? I mean, do you not want to talk about it?
Oh, yeah, I do, for sure. It's
Okay.
just, like, there's a lot to talk about. But yeah.
Let me ask you this: would you do it again if you could? Like, if you could go back in time, would you stop? Would you rip
Yes.
the microphone out of your hand and?
No. I would probably do it differently, though. So, there's a couple of things that I like. First off, there were so many positive messages. Like, so I made, like, a quick tweet after. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that." Like, I didn't really, I had pitched it, but the way it works is you pitch a bunch of things for scenarios that can happen. So, there was a JackeyLove pitch, I think that came from Froskuren. There was a, for me, depending on the player that stepped up, a, oh my god, are they going to do it, and they're the underdogs as Fnatic. Like, there were all these pitches, and honestly I didn't expect to actually do one of them. And then it just was 2-0, so I went like, with the producers, and I was like, hey, I think this is the spot for the pitch about the underdog monologue, and since the bot lane has been crushing it, how about we make it about Rekkles and Hilly. And I think that's fine, but I think maybe it came off a bit like too aspirational and like almost like a movie, you know what I mean? Like too over the top. And especially to people who've not watched the LEC, because there we do this all the time. And not everyone likes it either,
Yeah,
right? So I think it's a combination of um not everyone liking that format, then the combination of, like, we can talk about this later, but people saying it was biased. The emotions of the loss and the jinx comments, which I separate, like, jinx comments from "kill yourself, you jinxed them"
yeah,
comments, obviously. Like, all of that, I think, all of it together. And it also got paired with a lot of "you don't deserve your job" comments as a whole, like, the last 10 years don't mean shit because you did, like, one bad thing. And then still, it was hard for me to see, was it really that bad? Because so many industry people were like, "This is fucking great. This is storytelling. This is narrative. This is what we want. It was the right time." And then a big counter movement as well. So I think if I did it again, I would do it differently and maybe not be as, like, grandiose of, like, because the tone was the biggest issue, I think,
Yeah.
but that's fine. We can learn from it.
I mean, I assume you were pretty hyped at the idea that Fnatic. I mean, everybody was watching this,
Yeah,
at
of
least in the West,
course.
right? Like we were all pretty hyped. So I assume that's the sort of
That's what
energy that
went
you were
into it.
vibing on in that.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, "What the hell? Holy hell!" And also, like, the way those games that went with the bot lane,
Yes.
and it's almost like because it goes back to a lot of our kind of, philosophies, I think also natively in the LEC, which is do a lot of hero building but find the right spots for it, and when you look at kind of regional stars, Rekkles is one of the biggest, ones. So it made sense,
Well, in the sense that I've
unfortunately.
always gotten from watching the broadcast and from talking to people is that the Western broadcast mostly focuses on the stories of the West, and that seems to be like just a general philosophy. I mean, I've seen this from LCS people as well, and so it's not super
Yeah.
surprising me. But then again, you did say you had a JackeyLove thing queued up in the canon
Yeah,
for
so
that too.
yeah, so it's weird because, like, what you say is correct, and I don't think that many people notice, but actually since so at the beginning of 2019, there was this, revamped I wanna say broadcast focus, so kind of a guideline for the
Like a
English
philosophy.
a philosophy for the English broadcast for like Worlds and MSI, being that when appropriate, there is a bigger focus on content pertaining to the English speaking regions teams, LEC, LCS, OPL, unfortunately, of course, now, because the expectation is that mainly the fans of those regions will also watch that broadcast. So it comes down to kind of decisions to prioritize that content when appropriate. So, to give a palpable example, in a group stage where you have 6 matches a day, you could choose, which we did, to dedicate one pregame at the possibility of a FlyQuest upset in this group and not talking too much about the team that FlyQuest is playing at that time, be it top esports or
Sure.
whatever. And then you can choose to have an interview with an LEC team above an interview with another team, like stuff like that. And it doesn't mean that, like, it doesn't happen in the cast, for instance, and it doesn't mean that, like, we don't talk about the main other teams. It just means that when appropriate, sometimes, um, these things get prioritized, which I think makes a lot of sense in terms of being the English speaking broadcast. But I don't think a lot of people know that,
Well,
and
and a
that
lot of
put us
people,
in
I
this
think,
position.
they see the stuff on broadcast and they think, well, that's Sjoks' fault, or that's Frost's fault, or that's
Yeah.
Quickshot, or Kobe, or Captain Flowers, or whoever. And I know you guys are all in those story meetings, but it's like the result of the broadcast that people see, both the successes and the failures, I guess is a dramatic word, is like a whole team of people, like producers are behind the scenes helping make these decisions, and so they deserve both the credit and sometimes like the fault if people are frustrated with them.
Yeah, I also don't wanna I wanna take full responsibility for, like, if we pitch a segment and the producers say yes, like, we still pitched it, right?
Right.
So I think it's a very collaborative effort, but that is something you talk about that has irked me a bit, especially this World Championship, because especially I'm, like, also a freelancer, right? So I'm, like, a freelancer who's very happy doing, the World Championship, but sometimes we are, like, the punching bags for kind of everything, and it especially frustrated me in this instance because it was like, "Oh, like, it's completely unprofessional that you would ever do a fanatic-focused segment." And it's like, even if we were like, not just an English-speaking broadcast or we had that bigger focus, it would still be appropriate because they're
Yeah.
2-0 up, right? But I guess those people say, "Well, you could have done it from the angle of the LPL team that's about to go out." And that in that case, I think it's good that we have this guidance, right? But it is true that I don't think this has publicly been said that much or talked about, even though I've been trying to, like, also have the producers speak on it and stuff like that. But a lot of the decisions we make are made with that plan in mind, that comes from higher
Yeah, it
up.
ladders up to the
Right.
philosophy.
Right, exactly. And it's also not like a 100% hard rule because
Right.
as said, we have Frost who was really pushing for a JackeyLove segment, who actually did a JackeyLove slash top esports monologue earlier on in the group stage ahead of one of their games. which was something I was trying to bring up. It's like, hey, we've done this before, right?
Right.
But still, I don't think like in terms of the monologue that like erases everything. People are still allowed to not like it, right? I just think in terms of certain decisions we make on broadcast, certain interviews, certain segments, we have a guideline that we follow.
Yeah.
And yeah, like so sometimes people, oh, you talked like for 7 minutes about G2 and for 5 about Gen G. And it's like, well, we don't think about it that way necessarily, and we're also always going to have, instinctively probably a bit more to say about the teams that we know so well, but, we've done our best also to call in a lot of experts from other regions in the shows. I've pushed for that specifically. I think it's been working really well.
Yeah. Well, there was something else. Oh, also the bias stuff. I know it seems like we're on the sad boys train, but it's funny because I remember last year you and I did this interview in Spain where you
Yeah.
talked a lot because there's still a lot of conversation on the subreddit and on Twitter and stuff about bias, but I think it was worse last year. But it does seem like there's a lot of people who are really angry about this stuff, and the weird thing for me is I don't think that there's been a very big change in the way information is presented and the way people behave. Like on the analyst desk, I remember Monty used to like pull out an SKT banner and like a hat and choo
Yeah.
choo. But it seems like there's a big discussion now, or a big call for you guys to all just sort of stop having opinions. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this stuff.
So I think that the combination of the fact that we had this like broadcast philosophy of focusing on LEC, OPL, and LCS, in combination with LEC being the only one of those regions that had teams that survived past the group stage,
Yeah,
and now 2 years in a row, Worlds being held predominantly from Europe. Worse this year because there's a pandemic and it's almost exclusively LEC talent on the desk in person. I think those 3 factors combined definitely made it seem probably to a lot of people like the balance was off. And
yeah,
I think that's kind of our fault for not foreseeing that because we had so many talks before Worlds about like what we wanted this Worlds to look like. And I definitely pushed for like, hey, we have a studio, so let's do all these segments and like different things and let's call in all these people. And they're like, okay. And remember, like if it's like NA versus EU, we have to be balanced. Like we thought about it so much and we should have maybe thought more about hey, it's gonna be weirder because it's all LEC talent in the LEC studio talking about these teams. And you told me too, you were like, "Oh, it's so weird to see you guys talking about
FlyQuest. Yeah,
FlyQuest
yeah. The
here."
opening that opening day where
Yeah,
you guys are telling the story of FlyQuest, I'm like, oh, this is strange to see.
I know. It's a bit jarring, but like it's always gonna be jarring because we're in a pandemic. But I honestly thought we did a pretty good job. Like
Yeah,
I even like I became like obsessed to the point where I was like in the story meet was like, what are the times for each segment? And could we add 2 minutes here on this so it's more balanced? And in a lot of like the live ones, I was also like not showing any emotion whatsoever to the point where like, and this is sad because to the point where G2 played Damwon, I like my emotions were like completely shut off. And I think it's bad when they take over. And like last year, we did like a splice thing, which I thought in retrospect was something we should have never done. That was actually quite biased, although it was also fun. Like we did this thing in the
yeah.
crowd with the
I
flags.
remember it was
Like I wouldn't do that
okay.
again. And I don't think that we had that many of those, but I also think bias is as much in the eye of the beholder and the person who consumes the content as it in the alleged perpetrators,
Yeah,
right? So I have the same thing. Like if I watch soccer, football, whatever, and I watch the world championship and it's Belgium versus another team, everything the commentator says is against Belgium. You know what I mean? And that's normal. That's a normal reaction. But I honestly thought we were doing a pretty good job this year. Um, but I don't know what there's always room for improvement. And I am so like I've learned a lot of lessons about feedback and taking feedback from the public and how to react to them publicly in the last couple of months because I think I don't know. There's this whole meme now which is like, "Oh, well, I hate that LEC casters can't take criticism and they stand up for each other and they like tweet about each other." And there's like so much to that, and I think one of those is like in the past, I think I've treated criticism incorrectly and that I would just go on Twitter and be like, well, fuck you,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? When, it's actually much more effective to actually the things that are constructive feedback to call them out and say, "Hey, I saw this. I'm working on this." But people seem to consider that as like bad behavior too on our part when all I ever want to do is like say, "Hey, I've seen this and I want to go in an open dialogue with you." That's why also on Reddit when I see something, I give like production context. Say like, "Hey, this is why we made this decision. But thank you for your feedback." I've learned those lessons for sure, but I don't know. It's still weird because people then are like, "Oh, look, LEC casters are also they're always standing up for each other." Yeah, like we're colleagues, we're friends, we share our goals with each other. That's like a weird thing to get
Yeah,
annoyed
you guys should
with.
be ripping each other apart or letting each other all die alone on
But
social media.
yeah, it's hard. I don't know. I mean, you've been in these positions as well, right? Sometimes you have this like idea of how you want to react to online criticism and how you want to deal with it, and then sometimes something happens and it just,
Yeah,
yeah.
no. So you have to sometimes laugh at this stuff. I mean, there was that right around All Stars last year. That was that Reddit thread that popped off crazy hard. That was like Travis doesn't know how to interview, and I'm just like, this is so over the top. It's so ridiculous that it becomes really difficult to even like what am I supposed to take away from this? You know what I mean? It's just become so ridiculous.
I know, like when it's too much. And
Yeah,
what the
it's like okay,
ugh,
the point of the thread, I guess, is to say that I should just like if I wanted to really dive in on this thread and the sentiment, it would be I should just retire because if I just
yeah,
fundamentally don't know how to do my job
yo, that
after
thread was brutal,
8 years, so
well,
and there's just a ton of
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I also think like some people probably say, "Well, you're crazy for even looking at that shit." And I would say you're probably right. But I think Yamato was telling me the other day, he was saying, "You do your own Twitter, that's crazy." Because he was saying that it's gotten to a level where there's so many people. This sounded braggy, and I didn't mean it to, but it has grown a lot. So he thought it was weird that I like was manually going through like all the Reddit threads, all the Instagram DMs, all the Twitter DMs, all the
Yeah,
Facebook, like all of that. And I was like, "You're probably right, but I've always prided myself on having this open connection with the community." But it's just been really bad this year, and especially during Worlds. Because like, why would you even go in a Reddit thread? But I've definitely found that, yeah, like, the comments I mean, the ones that are just like lies. That like there was this Arthosis tweet I think the other day about something that like someone will write something. It's like, yes, this person did this. I saw it, and then I read that and I'm like, I was there. That person did not say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like that was not
Wait,
the
artosis.
Artosis. What did
You
I
said
say?
arthosis. Arthosis is what you
Artosis?
said. Artosis, yes.
Artosis.
Oh, you're talking about the amazing artosis clip. Yeah, everybody should go
Yeah,
look at it. I think Tasteless tweeted it out.
yeah,
Where
and
he's
the
like
one
in the Reddit. That Reddit thread clip is so good. It's so good.
I get, like, really, and it's weird because those are the thing is, my mind says you shouldn't care about those because they're obviously lies, but then I'm like, "Yes," but then you come back and they get upvoted, and then in the next thread, they get
Yes,
brought up again, and they're like
100%.
now they're correct. So I'm like,
Yes,
I rather get in there and explain this. I usually go like, thank you for your feedback. I perceived it differently. I give specific examples, and I always ask them for timestamps in a
yes,
DM and to message or like on Twitter to message the producer, but they never do. Then it's always like, oh, I'm sorry, I was only watching with a half eye, or oh, I'm sorry, I've
yes,
actually only
yes.
watched
But they
three
felt
two. I was just
good enough to
kidding.
go out. I mean, I don't want to turn this into a giant complaint session, but yeah, I mean, the same thing has happened with like there are threads now where people go in there and be like, Travis attacked personalities for supporting G2 last year. And I was like, what? And you go, this is upvoted. And then other people are like, yeah, I know he did that. But actually, I think he's gotten a lot better. And I'm like, no, they start
It's
having all
never
these like tangential conversations based off of that
never
tree off of this like false statement. And I'm like, what am
yeah.
I watching
I
right
know.
now?
Alright, you're right. This shouldn't devolve into this, but like I think it makes some good points. Like the
Yeah.
TLDR of it is like if it's really lies, like I like to get in there and talk. And I've learned in the last, not actually, in recently, I've learned that a better way to deal with these things. I think because there was a lot of it, and I do think there's often very good feedback. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes it's hidden. And I don't know. What do you think? Should I just stop reading it all together and talking to people,
Yes. You
like,
and I have
about
talked
these
about this
things?
before. I think you should
But
stop. Especially
but it
whenever
sucks.
So like I did not go read any comment in that Travis Gafford doesn't know how to interview thread because I was like, this is too overwhelming. I'm not going to gain anything
Then
from it.
try to get in there and say, "Hey,
I did comment
wow,
in it. I went in and I read the head thing, the headline, and then I just like left a comment in it. I was like, I'm not gonna read any of this because it's just like way too much.
yeah,
You know, I don't. That's not to say I don't care about my craft or improving. I go talk to other people, but
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
we should move on so that because I
yeah,
do have to
perfect."
actually go get lunch with Kobe. He's waiting and he's going to sleep soon. But um, so I don't want to make this whole thread this whole conversation just us complaining.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to keep it positive. I'm dealing with stuff. I love people's
Okay, let's
interactions.
keep it positive. What of the who among the LEC players do you think we will bring to LCS this year?
Well, Alfari, allegedly.
Just try to keep it
Allegedly.
positive.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so happy that this is not happening that much anymore." And I was like, "Well, fuck you!" Oh shit!
You know what I
I just
realized
did
the other
something.
day?
What?
Mark and I were talking about this. Uh, LEC pros, and whatever, you could applaud them for this, you know, if you want. LEC pros oftentimes give up 100, 200, 300, 400, $500,000 a year to play one additional match at the World Championships.
Hmm. I think that the once you're at a point where, for instance, me, uh, like I'm
Not to
freelancing
make
and
this
I
all
earn
about you, but
more.
yes.
No, no, no. It's a comparison. That's not what I meant. I just mean anyone who goes from one job to another and or kind of becomes a pro player and earns more money all of a sudden. I don't think the differences for those players are as important. Like if they're already at I don't know 400,000 euros a year and then it becomes a way off between do I want to be unhappy in something that I really like because the quality of solo queue is worse,
Uh,
do I wanna be so far away from my family and not be able to fly back? And you weighed against, but it's pretty awesome to live in LA, or I really wanna be part of this organization, or there's people that I like or whatever.
sure.
Um, all these things. I think it changes if you're like someone who earns almost no money and you get scouted and you go to like all of a sudden you go from like 0 to 500K and you're a starter on a roster or your career has run its certain course. That doesn't mean it's over, but it's run its certain course, and you think that that's going to be a better decision. There's a difference between that and players who are at the peak of their craft, um, who just know that they work better, for instance, in Europe with the talent that rises up from Europe and the results that Europe has put up in the last 2
Yeah.
years. That's the way I see it. But I also don't blame anyone for going. Like, and I also don't think I've said this so many times, but there's no reason why, like, the LCS should not get out of groups, there really is no reason, and I do think that a lot of new blood would help, so
A lot of new European blood.
well, that's the issue is we haven't really I mean, Power of Evil and Ignar well, Power of Evil, Ignar is technically LCK that we brought into
Yeah.
LCK. But Power of Evil did great, right, this year, for
Yes.
instance. She's fantastic. I mean, Bjergsen and Jensen, but they were, like, the early adopters, I would say, right? But they did phenomenally as well. There's not always better examples, but there's a lot that goes into it. But I think narrowing it down to play 1 extra best of 5 a year is a loser's mentality, to be honest, because fuck yes. Fuck yes, I wanna play that other best of 5. Fuck yes, I wanna go to the world championship and play a best of 5 against the best in the world. Duh. But
You know,
I
if you go in
understand
through
both sides of
plans,
it.
you can play best of fives that way too.
I mean, and lose for sure. I guess that's right. It's just I don't know. I don't wanna be too harsh, but I can understand that how a competitive person would think, "Yes, I wanna do the best."
Yeah,
But also different places in your life, different things change your priorities. You're not the same at 18 as you are at 23, right?
that's true. What was the Bjergsen retirement announcement like for you?
Um, it was weird because it was almost like, "Oh," like everyone was super, super shocked, and I was almost like, "I can see it," you know? I didn't know beforehand or anything. I
Right.
think it's a smart move. I think he's played his cards exceptionally well in the last couple of years in the business game in terms of being part of TSM and whatnot, and now going over to a coach. I don't necessarily. I think it's always a risky move because look at Jat for instance. He did great things with that roster, and now it's like, well, he didn't get out of groups, right? And it kind of
Yeah.
gets it's a very hard thing to step into, but it's pretty nutso. It makes you think like, okay, who are the others, that are on the docket to retire? Because there's older players, there's different players, or players with less success. Um, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I do. I
Exactly.
do. I mean, Doublelift said on Twitter that he considered it when Bjergsen told him. So I would I would say that I would not have predicted going into this year that by the end of it he would be considering it. So
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
definitely been a wild year.
It's also a grind, man. Like, I know we always say, well, it's a dream job and to get to play video games for a living, but that doesn't take away the difficulties of it, like the grind and the pressure, first and foremost, that they put themselves
Yeah.
under, the team as well as like public opinion. It's a lot. And I applaud anyone who makes a decision that will better, like for health reasons, for mental health reasons, for priority reasons in life, you know?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. All right, let's round out with some fun stuff. You've been playing a ton of TFT. Kobe, I
I
think, got like
have.
challenger.
I've just got back to silver too. I hadn't played for months.
Okay, okay. You're
Yeah.
enjoying it though.
Yes, because my one of my favorite champions from League is Nami, and Nami comps, enlightened Nami comps with Double Doon's Echo and Quicksilver is chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But I'm really bad. Like I choose a comp, like it was Elderwood Vhagar before, it was like Ash Brawler before, and now it's Enlightened Nami, and I'm like how did I call that? I tunnel on it super hard. So,
Yeah.
like, even if I get another trait and, like, 3 champions early, I'll be like, "Nope, where's my Nami?" And then someone else has a Nami and the game's over. So, that's why I'm silver too.
All right. Well, I got it. I've been waiting too long. I have to get lunch with Kobe. So,
Really? I just wanted to give you an exclusive.
on what? What's the
I
exclusive?
miss
Wait, the
you.
exclusive is you miss me?
I miss you.
I miss you too.
Aw.
I really enjoy that we've been able to have some calls and stuff like that, and we've been able to do this interview. But
You mean every time I came home from a show and I was like, "I'm in such a bad mood, I need help." Talk to
yes,
me.
those calls where I would be 7 in the morning for me, and I would be wanting to go to sleep, and you would be very unhappy.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. You've
No,
helped
it's
me a
good. I
lot.
mean, I wish that we've obviously had those conversations before, both of us from both directions, and I wish that we were having them over drinks while looking at some beautiful skyline like we usually can at Worlds. But
Hey, I've drank so much less during this Worlds than per usual, and that's good.
yeah,
That's
no,
really good.
I've definitely been
Um,
more healthy too, kind
hey,
of.
let's end on a happy note because, like, I feel like as per natural, or naturally, what the fuck? We get into these like, this sucks and this sucks, but Worlds has been really good, like, that we've had a show like this in the current situation with, like, the way they
Yes.
got all the players to Shanghai, kind of the stage setup, the studio setup, and the LA setup. Hey, like, I mostly wish that more people would be.
No, I do agree with that. I think people do not. Uh-oh. Oh, never mind. I thought he
"Yes,
was in the kitchen
Kobe, we're
making food.
coming." Nah.
I thought that he would be that people would be um upset because I figured there'd be more technical issues, and I know there's been like observer stuff or whatever, but for the most part, like there's been very few pauses. The broadcast has run pretty well. Everybody's in all these different locations. You guys have been able to bring in people like Lyric from uh
Yep,
Shanghai, and you've been able to bring in the LCS crew and Spawn and all that stuff, and I've just been really impressed at how well it's actually just worked. So
too.
I think to your point, yes, it is great. Like there are a lot of other esports that haven't been able to do anything this year, or haven't been able to do their international event, and there's a lot of sporting events that have had to go way down scale on this stuff. So I think it's been really cool to see.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, it was nice talking to you, Travis. I get hangry too, so I get it.
What's
I
that? Sorry, you got kind of quiet. I don't know if it's
Oh,
on
hello?
both sides. Hello, yes, continue.
I get hangry too, so don't leave Kobe waiting.
Well, he needs to go to sleep soon because he's still on
Oh, yeah,
nocturnal
right.
schedule.
Where are you going for lunch?
I don't know yet. I think he wants to go to a chicken place. He likes chicken a lot.
Nice. Chicken's good.
Anything you want to say to anybody out there?
Hi, Travis Gafford industry fans. Yeah, thank you for all your support continuously, and for making me grow and be a better person every single day.
I sent you a message on Discord.
And thank you to oh, please
Oh wow, that's so
subscribe,
nice of you that you said that.
as well as Twitch Prime on, the channel
Oh
and
wow,
then the YouTube.
that's
And a
very.
Patreon. Is that still a thing?
I don't have a Patreon. Alienware is my
OnlyFans?
sugar daddy. Yeah, travisgafford.com/lewd is a real link
Perfect.
that works. You can go there right now. Are you gonna go there?
I'll go to it right now, in
Okay,
fact.
travisgafford.com/lewd. And you don't tell anybody what you see because it is. I mean, it is a little explicit, but
Ugh.
okay. Anyway, that's the interview. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, Sjoks. Bye. Hey, I hope you really enjoyed that video. We're trying to do a bunch of cool stuff for off season and the tail end here of Worlds and moments after Worlds, whatever. Anyway, we're going to be doing a bunch of cool stuff, and we couldn't do that if it wasn't for Alienware. I know you've heard me talk about them before, possibly. But I do want to give a shout out to them. You can check out their link in the video description below to save 10% off your order. And remember, it's a great time to be looking at computers with all these different sales come up and all that stuff. I've got this Alienware desktop with a 3080 behind me. 3000 series from NVIDIA. Fantastic stuff that you can now get in these Alienware Auroras. You can go check those out at alienware.com/Travis. They also have amazing notebooks and monitors, all sorts of great stuff. So anyway, thank you so much to Alienware. And I'm sorry that this outro wasn't weird, but I've decided to do at least one or two non-weird ones just to keep you guys on your toes.